بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Kahf, which will be recited today, mentions a few different stories. And one is, of course, the story of the people of the cave, the youth who left their town in order to protect their faith and took shelter in a cave along with a dog that was guarding them outside or inside next to them, as Allah mentions that in the Quran. And then the story of the two friends who had gardens, and one of them spending in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what he had, and the other one who did not want to appreciate and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the wealth he had. One of them did not have apparently that much wealth, the other one did. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَضَرَبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الرَّجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ مِنْ أَعْنَابٍ وَحَفَّفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا. So one of them had two gardens and flourishing with all sorts of fruits and so forth, and the other one did not have that much. Apparently the one who had the wealth seemed to be more successful, but as it turns out, eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished the one who was boastful and arrogant over that which he owned, and it came to an end. The ending was different from what we expected it to be. And the one with the wealth, he sat there, أَصْبَحَ يَقَلِّبُ كَفَّيْهِ عَلَى مَا أَنْفَقَ فِيهَا. He sat there just wiping and rubbing his hands in dismay, in disappointment, frustrated that he lost everything. And the other one, all he had to say is that, inshallah, I'm going to have much better in the akhirah. Allah didn't give me today in the dunya, but I'm going to be grateful and thankful to Allah for whatever I have, and I expect that Allah will give me in akhirah. And the third story is the story of Musa and Khadir alayhi salam, their travels together, and the various incidents that took place on that trip, eventually leading to Musa alayhi salam and Khadir departing, and Khadir alayhi salam informing Musa alayhi salam the interpretation of the things that he had done, the reasoning behind killing a child, behind tearing and creating a hole in the boat, and lastly in fixing a wall that was about to fall down, that belonged to a group of people, apparently in a village, that were not hospitable to them. All three of these things didn't seem to make too much sense to Musa alayhi salam, and he asked questions about it. And Khadir had asked him already, do not ask questions. But when he did ask a question, why did he ask a question? Because he's a prophet. Prophet can't see something apparently wrong happening. He has to speak up. So he spoke up, and that led to the departure, and Khadir informed him of the background, why he did those things. The surah ends with a little bit description of Dhul Qarnayn, the king who ruled of the east and the west. And he conquered so many different lands, and then at last he came across a group of people who were being bothered by another nation called Ya'juj Ma'juj, Gog Magog, and they were very bothered by these people who were attacking them and whatnot. And eventually they asked for help, and Dhul Qarnayn, he built a wall with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a very, very strong, powerful wall to keep them at bay, so that these people could be protected from the fitna, from the trial, from the killing of, and from the disturbance of Ya'juj Ma'juj. And as the hadith mentions, that every single day this group, Ya'juj Ma'juj, come to that wall and they try to destroy it bit by bit, piece by piece, and as the day comes to an end, they always say that we are going to take care of this tomorrow, and we will come out of our enclosure tomorrow. When they come back the next day, everything is as it was before. The whole wall has been rebuilt, and they start from, ground zero, step one, all over. And this takes place every single day. And then the day when Allah intends for them to leave their enclosure, they will say, Insha'Allah, when we come back tomorrow, we will finish up whatever is remaining. And that day when they say Insha'Allah, meaning if Allah wills, through the blessing and the barakah of Allah's name, it will remain as is. And the next day, very quickly, they will be able to destroy whatever remains of that wall and will come out. So this is the gist of the surah. But Surah Al-Kahf, as we've all know, is a surah that we've been instructed to read every week. We've been instructed to recite it every Friday. We've been instructed to recite it routinely. If not the entire surah, then at least the first 10 and the last 10 ayat. And if we cannot do that, then at the very least, the first 3, last 3, or the first 3, just the first 3 verses of this surah. And what we have been promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by His Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is the one who recites this punctually, right? On every Friday. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant him nur. Allah will grant him light. Allah will grant him light that will last for him from one Friday to the next. What that nur going to do? That nur is going to protect him. That nur is going to protect him from every trial, from every tribulation, from every fitna, every type of test of iman. Even if the fitna is as great as the fitna of what? What's the greatest fitna? The greatest fitna is the fitna of Dajjal. The greatest fitna is the fitna of the Antichrist. Even from that fitna, a person will get protected as long as he recites these surahs, this surah. That's all. It's so easy thing we're being asked to do. Recite the surah and Allah will protect you from all sorts of trials and tribulations. So we really, if we believe in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which we do, if we believe in the Quran, which we do, and then it is common sense for us that we will try whatever we can in order to protect ourselves from difficult days and difficult times. And there's no greater test that a person can go through. Sometimes a person loses a limb or a leg, a person loses some wealth, a person gets sick. These are all big tests, definitely big tests. May Allah protect all of us from that. But there can be no doubt that the biggest test is the test of iman. When a person is considering leaving his faith, when a person is considering giving preference to something besides his faith, to sell his faith. That is the biggest test that anyone can go through. And definitely we beg Allah that He never put us through that type of test. So recitation of Surah Al-Kahf, inshaAllah ta'ala, will preserve us, will protect us from ever having second thoughts, from ever being put into a situation where we would consider selling our faith, where we would consider giving up our faith. And why is that? It's because there is imaniyat in the surah. All of these multiple stories, these 3 to 4 stories you can say, focus on believing in the unseen and giving preference to the unseen over mushahada, over what you see. If we, inshaAllah ta'ala, ponder over the meanings and the stories of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us the tawfiq to recite Surah Al-Kahf every Friday. Ameen Rabbil Alameen.